Hello, welcome to the Nintendo Bros podcast. This is Pete.
And this is Derek.
And we've got an exciting week this week, don't we, Derek?
Yes, we do.
Every week is exciting. But
Yeah.
Two big topics this week. One, very Nintendo related. They showed a lot of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom today in a little gameplay segment.
I don't know if I would say a lot, but they definitely showed more than they have before.
They didn't show much. Okay, it was a very little, but more than we've seen. You're right. And also, the Nintendo GameCube classic Resident Evil 4 has been remade, and we've both been playing a lot of it, so we can talk about that too.
For sure.
But I think we should talk about Zelda first, because that's the big kind of hot ticket news that just happened.
Okay.
We saw Aunoma sitting there and playing some gameplay. Before we get into specifics, Derek, what was your feeling about this going in and coming out?
Yeah, I was pretty excited going in some ways. Like, I knew it was going to be kind of it wasn't going to be like a sizzle reel of all these crazy things, right? I knew it was going to be kind of like, just showing us the systems or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I went in with hype, but not necessarily like going to be wowed. And I really liked what I saw. I walked away feeling content and excited to get the game. I'm still on board. But like I said, it wasn't blown away. There's stuff that I would have liked to see that wasn't shown. But I'm sure, over the next month, I'm sure previews will come out. Eventually people will get review copies and there'll be previews and there might be more demonstrations or whatever. So, nothing turned me off the game. I'm not soured anyway. I liked what I saw. I just would have liked to see a bit more, and I'm excited to hear more about kind of the world and the systems and what's there and what's new and what's changed and what's returning. So it was a nice little tidbit, but looking for more.
Yeah, I mean, I think I went in a little more excited. I did expect more of a sizzle reel. I thought they were going to say, oh, and this is new with the towns, and this is now going underground, and water, and dungeons, and like they were going to give like a good 30 seconds to a minute on what was new. But it was a little more low-key and very focused on the kind of weapon systems and the building systems. I don't know. I feel a little mixed about it right now. Like, obviously, I have a pre-order. I am excited. But, they didn't really show a lot of the things that mattered the most to me. And I think the fusion system of putting two weapons together, it's really cool. And it opens up a lot of possibilities. And I like how they're kind of taking that, I don't know, a little bit of a Minecraft approach to open-ended gameplay. But I don't know, something about it being... It really does look like Breath of the Wild almost exactly. And I think, about a year ago or 8 months ago, I was really gunning for this to be on the Switch Pro or Switch 2. And, I just watched it for a second time. And on the visual side of things, I just find it really kind of disappointing. Yeah,
it's very, very rough looking and the textures look very... Yeah, like, again, we were coming off playing a lot of high-res games, especially Resi 4, but like, yeah, like I agree, it's not the first time, but you're really noticing that it's not what you want Zelda to look like.
Yeah, and I think the fact that I'm kind of, with Breath of the Wild, it felt so refreshing, and it made every time you go into the woods or a new area like really exciting. This didn't quite have that level of excitement for me. The skydiving and the islands in the sky, that's really cool, but I guess I just still don't. I don't know. It doesn't really feel entirely new. And I don't know. I guess we'll see. I don't know. I feel kind of weird about it. I wish we had, seen some of the towns or seen some of the dungeons or learned about quest lines or something.
Yeah, like I would like to see if dungeons are in or what shrines are like or even like the ascend thing that lets you go through the ceiling. Mm-hmm. I would like to see that be more useful than just like, oh, I want to get up there. Like there might be puzzles involved. I don't know. Like I think I walked away from this video not upset, but kind of thinking to myself, before this I was like, this is gonna be my game of the year for sure. And now I'm kind of like, oh, like I'm playing Resident Evil 4, which I love. Like maybe this game is gonna be a great game, but it actually just will fall in that, it's just a very excellent sequel and won't be like this revolutionary game that Breath of the Wild was. It kind of just, iterates on that same kind of idea, but doesn't make it to that echelon of like, wow, this is like a game changer that we saw at Breath of the Wild, and I think that we were kind of expecting. So like, I walked away being like, oh, maybe this won't be my game of the year that I thought was kind of a shoe-in, even though I
Yeah.
think I'll still love it for sure.
Same. I mean, it's not like we're gonna deal with like a Skyward Sword type of situation where it could just be like a Zelda that doesn't really land, so to speak.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be good, but it's hard. It is very iterative in a way that other Zeldas don't seem like they've almost ever been.
But the only thing I could say is, I'm sure when I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of people that if you look at Breath of the Wild when they first saw it, they're like, oh, what that, like, besides for it being open, they might have had some skepticalness on, there's no dungeons or there's no, items or things like that. And then previews came out of people that actually were playing the game, had put 30 hours into it, 50 hours, whatever it was, and they're like, this game's freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So I expect, once April 20th rolls around or something and people have played it for a while, reviews and previews have come out, people are going to say, you've seen nothing. The crazy, like, this game is just absolutely crazy, the things you can do and like the stuff that's in it.
I mean, Aonoma did say there's lots more that's new.
Yeah, and I know there was like, I'm sure you heard about like the art book
Yeah, there's a
leaking.
shovel. Spoiler, shovel.
Well, people said that it confirms that the art book obviously is real, but it confirms that there's way more stuff than what was shown in here. Like people are like, and the art book didn't even show a lot of the stuff, but they're just saying the art book has so much content that's not even close to being shown here that's significant. That I think this, like, someone actually made a good comparison. So like, there's a part where you go on that rock and you go all the way back up to the top in the video. And then it cuts, and he goes, "Oh, now we're on a bigger platform."
Yep.
People are speculating that, and like the rest of the kind of demonstration was on that bigger platform. People are speculating like that's the new plateau.
Yeah, maybe. But it does seem like this game is treating the players like they already have played Breath of the Wild. So I don't know if they're going to do the same Great Plateau thing again. Where it's like you have to kind of learn the basics. Maybe.
Yeah, but they have to have a part, like, that's just bad game design if they just throw you in and say, "Oh, do whatever." It's like they have to have an area or something that explains the different things you're doing. Like, just because
Maybe.
we're into this and watch the videos doesn't mean someone can just jump in and be like, "Oh, I know how to use all like these certain things and do all these certain things." Like, I think they're gonna have a Great Plateau similarity at the beginning.
Like before you get the paraglider, so you just can't jump off and go anywhere. You have to
Yeah.
kind of complete this island or set of islands, sky islands.
I think, yeah, exactly. I think you're gonna wake up and you're gonna be on a giant, like, kind of a big-ish island in the sky, and you have to do some certain things. And like I think even that building that raft across the water, it's like, oh, like the parts are right there. Like, that's teaching you how to build the certain things to get across the water to do something, and like you get another power up, and then eventually you can just jump off and see the whole world.
Yeah, I think in general though, I think I would have been a little more stoked if the whole gameplay demo was just in the Sky Islands, so that we didn't. I guess it was just the stuff on the ground that felt like it looked exactly like Breath of the Wild to me.
But they were like, it was like 20 seconds on the ground.
True, but I just mean visually, it looks exactly the same.
Yeah, but I mean, we only saw what 1/800th of like the area.
True, but I guess the one thing I can parse from it is that it does look like there is no underwater swimming.
I don't think anyone ever said there was going to be underwater
No,
swimming.
people were hoping for it because that was one of the big upgrades to Horizon, and when GTA 5 came out, that was the big upgrade of swimming underwater. So it is kind of like the open world. When open worlds get bigger, a big staple of open worlds getting bigger was adding underwater swimming, and that was a part of other Zelda games. Majora's Mask, you go underwater. I mean, pretty much every Zelda game you go underwater. Even the Wind Waker to some extent. So I guess
Yeah, I
I
mean,
was kind of hoping for that.
So I'd say, one, we don't know for sure. I don't think it is, but we don't know for sure. And two, I think, the sky is going to be such a pivotal part of this game that if I had to choose between sky or water, I'd pick the sky. And also, I know like there's a lot of rumors and hints about being this kind of elaborate underground world and cave system and stuff underground. So who knows? We haven't seen everything, right? Like, there could be this crazy underground caves. There could be these huge lakes that we can swim through. Like, we really don't know much about this game, which is kind of crazy that like a Zelda's coming out in a month, and we really have seen 10 minutes total of gameplay of the game.
Totally. I think. Yeah. My takeaway is I know it's going to be great, but I think it'll be one of those games where the greatness comes from the complexity of the design. Like I think when we play, we're like, wow, like these dungeons are really cool, and just the way we're exploring these areas is really cool. But it won't be the same type of amazing feeling from Breath of the Wild, where it's like, wow, I can climb anything, I can go anywhere, I can do this. Like a lot of that will be lost, I think, on this game. And even I think like the feeling of exploration of Breath of the Wild, of like you can go anywhere. Oh, I just want to go to that mountain and see what's over there. I don't even know if that will have the same impact this time. So I think a lot of that kind of wow factor that takes your breath away, pun intended, will not be here at all. But I think it'll be more well designed, and there'll be really cool puzzles, and it'll be just really cool moments. So I don't know if that makes any sense what I'm saying, but
Like I know what you're saying, and I do agree to some extent, but I think we're just because we've only seen it and haven't played it. There's going to be something really freaking awesome about standing way up high and just jumping off anywhere. Like I think there's something really really cool and liberating about that kind of idea, and I think we had to experience that. Like I know what you're saying, but I think in the moment we're gonna be like playing the first 20 minutes with a smile on our face, being like, "Holy frig! Like I can just jump right now, any direction, anywhere, up, down, wherever I want to go, and there's something to do." Like that feeling of that first like hour of Zelda being like, I can go anywhere, even if it's a similar map, even if it's a lot of similar game design. It's like that feeling is gonna come back, and it's gonna be freaking awesome being able to jump into the sky and do all these crazy stuff.
yeah. And the part where Aonoma gets kind of like blown off the side of the island and he dives down. That part looked pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool to me too.
And it's weird. Like on one hand, I feel like the graphics don't. I mean, they don't feel like they're that. I feel like I wanted there to be a next generation leap for graphics, and god damn, like we know the Switch is going to come within the next year. They could have timed it better, but there's also it does look competent, and it looks like it's consistent, if you will. Like it doesn't look like there's real frame rate issues, and the pop it there wasn't like the pop in doesn't seem as bad as the first Breath of the Wild, and just some of the details on the textures look refreshing. Look like they did add more detail. So.
And even just falling off that edge that you're talking about, it's not like you go, fall through clouds and it's a loading thing, like, or it's like it hides the pop in. It's like you can see the ground the entire time you're falling, and it doesn't look like there's any noticeable buildings. Like, I mean, I'm sure it probably does exist, but it doesn't seem like there's any giant towers like blipping into space. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, I agree. Like, it's not the prettiest game, but I'd rather than make it slightly less pretty to keep it fluid and realize their vision that they wanted to have.
Totally. And I don't doubt that there'll be a 4K Switch 2 version for full price a year later or so. I don't doubt they'll do that, or some sort of upgrade. Yeah, no, it looks awesome. I will say this, though. As of now, I am more excited for Pikmin 4 than I am for this game.
Really?
Yeah, Pikmin 4, I watched the trailer again. It looks amazing. It's beautiful graphics. And the thing with Pikmin 4 is it really feels like a big jump from Pikmin 3, and the different things they're doing, and the music really lands for me, and it just feels like I'm really excited to explore that world, where with this game I'm excited, but it just kind of feels like a version 2.0 in a way that Pikmin 4 doesn't. It does. The one thing I will give credit to Nintendo for is I wasn't expecting them to do what they did with the building mechanics and the weapon linking, the weapon doubling. I guess you could put two items together, or a weapon and an item, but you can't put three weapons together, can you?
Not that we've seen, but it's not just weapons. That's what's kind of cool. It's like that boulder was not a weapon, and he put the boulder on his weapon.
There's probably going to be some gross amount of things that you can possibly make, eh? Like just disgusting.
And like, again, we got to remember that, like, think back to the other game in Breath of the Wild where, like, you could drop your sword in a lightning storm and it would lightning strike the item. So, like, you could make some weird fusion, drop it in the ground, or do something weird with it, and then shoot it, and then reverse time, and then, like, there could be some crazy stuff going on. And, like, people were talking about, oh, what if there's rope, and you could put the rope on an arrow, and you could shoot it and make, like, a zip line. Cool. Or make something that, like, make a rope that you can climb up. Or what if they're, like, I don't know, like, I was kind of joking. I made a post, like, if you can build vehicles, what's to stop you from building, like, things like dams or fisheries or, like, just wild, I don't know.
I doubt terraforming will be in it.
Not terraforming, but like, why can't I build like like a log cabin is what I mean. Like, why can't I use a bunch of wood and make something quite big?
Maybe. I don't know if the physics engine will be there for that. But I do think it'll be just a matter of like, yeah, like things like giant catapults. Or there was a previous trailer too where there's like it looks like Link had like a bomb on the end of on the end of a stick or something, and he like does a flip move and throws the bomb. So I think there'll be a real lot of combinations.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because it's almost like Nintendo's kind of taking that like kind of like Minecraft or Roblox, like almost like a build yourself kind of game. But the
It's
thing,
like a sandbox game.
yeah, but the thing
Exactly.
that I do appreciate about it is that they're kind of finding the halfway point between the sandbox game and a adventure game with actual goals. Where to me, something like Roblox or even Mario Maker or Minecraft is a little not guided enough for me. It doesn't feel like an adventure game.
Yeah, there's not a directive.
Where something like a Ubisoft open world or even probably like a Horizon series is a little too limited on your options of like they don't let you be as creative in how you play. So I think there's a nice it bridges that gap, and I think they are. I think someone mentioned online like they saw people building the Octo balloon rafts in the sky in Breath of the Wild, and then like, they just went wild with that one concept. So yeah, I'm excited. I still can't believe it's like 1 month from now will be weeks away. It's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. 1 month from now, we'll be like waiting on reviews.
Yeah, totally. And there's a rumor that in a few weeks there'll be, a hands-on event, and I expect there to be some glowing hands-on. I do think it's the kind of game where if they do hands-on, it'll be like 2 hours with the game, not just like a 30-minute playthrough. It'll be like they get a chunky piece.
Totally.
Do you think they'll do another like? What do you think? Do you think they'll do another gameplay hands-on with Aonoma? Do you think they'll do just one more trailer? How do you think they'll roll this out?
I think there's a good chance that we'll get like hands-on previews, let's say in a couple weeks, that where they're allowed to record some footage of it or something, like up to 10 minutes, or I don't know how those quite work with the embargoes. And then I think we'll get maybe some more exclusive stuff from like IGN or something leading up to it, like, oh, here's 10 minutes of a dungeon or 10 minutes of something. And then I think
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get anything official Nintendo besides for maybe one final trailer of like, launch.
That's what I think. Yeah, one final trailer and then a lot of hands-on previews. And I wouldn't be surprised if the hands-on previews is just kind of like, Sky Island section only, the beginning plus the first dungeon, and that's it. Like they don't get the full cahoots. And maybe that final trailer gives you a little look at the new towns and some of the new quests and whatever else is new. But yeah, they're really keeping this game tight-lipped, huh?
Yeah, but I mean, I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah, same here. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Let's talk about another awesome game starring Leon Kennedy,
Leon Scott Kennedy.
Condor One.
Baby Eagle.
So, how far are you currently, Derek? Just so we don't avoid spoiling it for you.
Yeah, I just
Leon dies in the end.
I figured. I just started chapter 14, which is the right after you see the regenerators.
Okay, so you're actually right where I am.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to beat it the other day, like I said I would. So we're at the exact same spot.
So I did the regenerator part, and then I got to the end of the chapter where you are with someone, and then that's where I stopped.
Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like I don't know if it's a real spoilery game because it's been out for 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. I just rescued Ashley then.
So, what's your overall impression, Derek? How are you feeling about it right now?
Yeah, I freaking love this game. It's shot up to number one in my game of the year easily. I think only two games maybe could top it this year, and one was Tears of the Kingdom, which I after today, not impossible, but I'm a little less likely. And the other was Hollow Knight Silk Song, which we haven't heard of, in like a year plus. So
Vaporware. I'm kidding.
But yeah, so I think Resident Evil 4 is a really good chance of winning my game of the year. Like I'm almost done, and I probably will go back to Octopath Traveler 2 just to finish it and then come back. But I think I'm gonna play Resident Evil 4 like 3 or 4 times straight through because it's so good. I find it such a tight game. And
You don't think Starfield could be your game of the year?
I just don't like Bethesda games and those kind of like really huge RPGs with a lot of text and characters and like systems at play. Like I want more kind of like the gameplay is interesting as opposed to the lore and world.
Yeah.
Not that I'm against it. I'm going to give it a go because it does look quite good. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 just hits every note. The only thing I think I don't like about it is some of the voice acting is really really bad in my opinion.
Yep.
But otherwise, I really have nothing bad to say about it. I like every part of it.
That's kind of a staple of Resident Evil, though, to have some bad voice acting. Like it almost kind of, in a way, works. Like
But
I don't. Everyone's complaining
like
about Ada, right? Ada's voice. It doesn't bother me that much.
Ada's bothers me, and Krauser really bothers me.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, there's other things that bother me about this game a lot more than the voice acting, and I'll get to that. But I'm like you. For me, it's amazing. It's definitely my game of the year right now. If we're not counting Metroid Prime Remastered,
I haven't played that yet, but I'll get around to it. I'm sure.
I don't know if we should count it because I don't know. I mean,
I'm going to count it for sure.
Well, then
I'm
it's
going
already
to.
my game of the year, and I don't see Tears of the Kingdom beating it. Yeah, Metroid Prime Remastered is my game of the year for sure.
You definitely can pick it. It is a remastered game.
I mean, I'm gonna do a replay of it soon, probably on hard. I think it's the best game of all time, and I think the remaster is amazing. And I actually think there's things the Metroid Prime remaster does that makes the Resident Evil 4 remake a little bit embarrassing.
It didn't change anything.
I just mean in terms of the performance, because so here's I'm loving Resident Evil 4, by the way. It's awesome. I love all the way they've updated it. Even with the Xbox control issues that are weird, I've completely gotten over it. Like I don't even notice it at all.
Yeah, me too. But I just want to make sure. I know you said this and you didn't mean to. It's not an update. They remade the game.
I know they remade it.
Okay.
But I guess here's my thing. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little negative here because I do love the game. I love all the upgrades. I'm gonna beat it multiple times. But if you're gonna remake a game, I especially remake or remaster, either or, I do expect that game to run better than the original release. And in many ways, yes, this game's a beautiful game with amazing art direction. And there's times where I'm just stunned by the graphics. But there's so many flaws with the graphics that it actually bothers me in my OCD to the point where it distracts me. And you said you didn't notice this, but the texture pop-in on Xbox at least is atrocious. Yeah, it's like every time I open the attach case and close it, it takes a second for those textures to load in again.
I do not have any problems like that.
Okay,
that's why. Like mine, like I there's not a single graphical thing that I notice that like that's ugly or like it does not look like that at all to me.
Okay, so I mean it's weird because I go online and it doesn't seem like other people are complaining about this, but it's weird. It seems like so many more people have a PS5 and play these games on PS5 that it drowns out the Xbox conversation a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like there's not a real space for people who. I mean, there's just not as many people who have Xbox. So there's not as much of a space for people who have Xbox to complain about it. But the texture loading is really rough for me. It's literally every time I open and close the attach case, there'll be cutscenes where the textures are loading in, and if I'm like, if you're finding like a key, I'll cut to the keyhole before you're going through the item, and like the door will load in a texture, and it's just. It's pretty rough.
Oh, that's weird. That's really weird.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I've tried different things. I've tried restarting the console. I've tried like taking some games off my hard drive. But here's the thing: like you don't seem to notice. There's a lot of people complaining about the PS5's visual issues, and you're not complaining about those at all. So I'm wondering if you're
I know the PS5 visual issues as far as like it's less crisp than it probably should be. But again, the main thing that fixed all that is turning off all the filters, and it really everyone say if you turn them all off, it actually looks quite good.
Yeah.
So I think people that are complaining about those just didn't have those filters turned off. So I mean, it's not crisp 4K like other games I've played, but it looks like again I have no. I mean, it doesn't look bad.
I have a few other issues with it too. For one, they did dial back the rain from the previews. I remember they showed that rain, but they dialed it back so much that I almost don't even see it at all. I don't know if this has to do with the variable refresh rate. I don't really know what it is, but like there's almost no rain. So there's scenes where Leon's wet, and this happened on the island and in the town, where you'll see rain pattering down on the texture of a wall, but there's no rain anywhere else. And it's this, this must be something that's on PS5 as well. It's the kind of thing that most people won't notice, but there's just seems to be a severe lack of polish in a lot of these little areas. Um, that
I didn't notice that.
yeah. The other thing is that I have loaded the game up where the textures on the ground don't load at all. I think I mentioned that to you.
Yeah.
And I quit and restarted, and it happened again. I had to actually reboot the whole game.
Yeah, I had no issues like that for me.
I've noticed that the sound when I play on headphones, it does not have proper 360-degree sound at all at the level of Dead Space. Like
That I do agree. It's not terrible, but it's closer to stereo than it is to 3D. Like
yeah,
I do get a decent 3D like feeling of it, but sometimes I have trouble locating certain things. Like, is it front right or back right?
yeah.
But
And also, particularly Ada's voice work seems like low quality voice sampling when I had it on my headphones. Like it seemed like a poor recording. So there's a lot of these weird issues. And the other thing too, just to put the complaints out there, some of the menu stuff seems a little bit clunky. Like, why can't I put certain things in the storage case? Why can I only put weapons but not my other items?
that's a game design. I like that.
I don't really like that because it doesn't make any sense to me, and it's not what was in the old version.
Yeah, the old version didn't have any storage.
I guess it didn't, no. But it
That's why. That's just that is why they're not letting you. They wanted you to be able to keep your guns because they knew people wanted to keep their guns, but they didn't want to take away the feel of having to sell things or having to move your attached case around. Because again, if you just had a storage box, you would never need a bigger inventory. You never need to juggle things around.
unless they were really spaced out. I think to have an item box at every time there's a merchant is just fine. Because to me, it's really about what are you bringing into the next set of action scenes that you need to, you know what I mean? Like that's what the decision making is for me.
I like it. I like that. Like I'm like, oh, I can't pick up another health item, or I can't pick up these extra bullets because I don't want to use my health item, or I don't want to have one less gun. Like I like that.
See, I've had the whole using the attach case and reorganizing things. I feel like is a step down from the original. I know completionists want to have all the guns, but that's not to me. That it doesn't really matter because you can always just sell one of your guns, get all the money, and buy the next one. So I don't have that 100%ist in me, and I just feel like I'm not really reorganizing the case very often, and it doesn't really that whole aspect of the game seems a little lost on me.
Oh wow, yeah. Again, complete opposite. Like I organize my case a lot, and I have too many things to sift through, and I have to make tough choices sometimes.
I don't know, maybe just I'm always up on mixing my herbs and making my ammo.
Me too. But you might just be using more bullets because you're not as good.
Maybe maybe I always just buy the attach case too.
I always buy the first thing I can buy. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, and the other thing, just as a small complaint, but deals with the UI, is that when you complete a chapter, it says, do you want to save it or do you want to continue? And then if you go to continue, it says, well, do you want to save it? And so you end up just saying, the instinct is that menu comes up, you press A or on your controller X, and then it'll say, oh, do you want to continue? So you press X again, then it saves it, you press X to save, and then it goes back to the main menu, and then if you press continue again, it bypasses that. And it's just kind of like, isn't there a cleaner, isn't there a more elegant way to handle this menu? Because it's just weird. And
I don't find that weird at all. It's just double checking that you want to save.
Yeah, but then it should just be like the first menu should come up, do you want to save? And then yes or no. Yes, you know what I mean? Or make the first button you press yes to save. It's a very small thing, but it's just I honestly feel like this game needed another like 2 months delay. And it needed to have these polished issues ironed out, and it needed to fix the controls, and needed to fix this PS5 issue. They needed to actually maybe dial the rain in properly. I don't know. Or
I agree things could be improved upon, but I I don't really think it's like underbaked by 2 months or anything. Again, I don't have any of the same issues that you do. Like to me, I have zero issues with it besides for
Yeah,
voice
I
acting.
mean, it's a weird space for me because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, I know this game's gonna get ported to the next 30 systems that come out. So eventually, one day, I'm gonna play an even better version of this game where they fix these issues, at least the graphical issues. I'll be able to play with proper gyro on Switch 2 or Switch 3. Like I know the game's great, in the gonna be great. I'm just maybe not used to playing games that are this rough around the edges, and I just it's a little
Ooh,
disappointing, to
again,
have a big next, like this is a remaster, and maybe it's an Xbox issue. I don't know. I know I see people online saying the PS5 has graphical issues. I don't know. I don't have PS5, but there are serious graphical issues on Xbox that just it's the kind of thing that the average person might not notice, but I notice
I
it. It's like two frames of texture pop in when you close the menus, and it bothers me. And I'm like, this isn't this. If you're gonna remaster a game or remake a game, like you gotta iron out the performance. Like this, and after coming off of Dead Space, that is like perfect performance all around, perfect presentation all around. Um, it's a little bit. I just wish it was ironed out a little more.
Yeah, like I agree. Dead Space, I think, is better performance in graphic and polish wise. But like to say this game is not as polished as other games that you played recently or whatever, like
Well, it's less
I
polished than Dead Space, it's less polished than Hi-Fi Rush, and it's less polished than Metroid Prime Remastered. So,
I know, but it's like when you compare it to like Elden Ring, it's like we didn't talk about this
well,
in
of
Elden Ring,
course, yes, you're right. Of course, it's way more polished than Elden Ring.
but I know, but it's like that. What like you never had these issues with Elden Ring.
Well, I just
Yeah.
think it's because when the initial Resident Evil 4 came out in January 11th, 2005, it was a sublimely polished game. Like it was flawlessly polished. Like it was just so there's just nothing error wise. And this one, there's this big kind of wave of issues on both platforms, and the
I
fact
don't
that
think
you
the
even
things
have
you
to.
listed. I don't think the things you listed are a big wave of issues. That makes it
It's a
sound like
wave
this
of
game is.
little issues, yeah, and I even think the way that you have to turn off all these features that I don't have to turn off to make it sharper is that's an issue. That's something that shouldn't have
But
happened.
I agree. I don't think it's perfect. But like to me, it's like you might be talking about like 2/10 of a point. Do you know what I mean? That's like comparing like between a 9.5 and a 9.3. Like I agree those things might exist or whatever, and they detract or that could be improved upon. But you like I would never focus on it in the sense that it's like, oh man, this turned like a really great game into like a just a good game. Like to me, like
No,
this is to me that just like to me this is still leagues better than Dead Space Remake
absolutely,
as a
absolutely. There's
game.
so much more variety in the enemies and the locations. There's so much more charm to the story. It's a way better game than Dead Space. But at the same time, it's like even though I give Dead Space a 9 or a 9.5, I'd probably still give this just a 9. I would ding it for all these things, but knowing that maybe one day I'll buy it for PS5 used, and they'll have patched it a few times, and then it
So
will be better.
so you think this game's a better game than Dead Space Remake or not?
I think it's absolutely a better game. It's more fun. It's more
Then why is
addictive.
this a 9 and Dead Space Remake a 9.5?
Because Dead Space, it's I don't think a review being higher than another necessarily makes it quote unquote a better game. But it's like with something like Dead Space, they did
What?
exactly what they set out to do. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's a
but
complete
it's
polished game.
that's the wildest thing I've ever heard. Is you are the person personally reviewing two games, and then you're saying, well, this game's better, but I reviewed it lower. Like that doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't think so. I think you can say a game is an 8.5. Being more objective about it. And then the next year you can play a game and give it a 9. And then a year later you're like, well, I really actually like that 8.5 game better. I remember it more. I had more fun with it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but
Where
you
I
just played those games recently. It's not a year from now.
I know, but I'm just saying like where Dead Space it's a smaller game than this game, and it's just a tighter game in general.
Yeah, I'm just you're totally. I get your opinion. I'm just surprised. I really disagree with your your take.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just maybe had higher expectations. I mean, the thing is, if you remake the best game of all time, you're gonna have a higher set of expectations set upon you. And I'm also, to be honest, I'm actually disappointed in the gaming journalism as a whole for completely not mentioning, at least on Xbox, the Dead Zone issue. And it's like they've given this company Capcom a complete pass on these, and it's honestly seems like journalist pandering in some of these to not even mention it at all. And I know that most reviewers review on PS5, but none of the Xbox outlets have mentioned it. It's weird to me that that's
But I
gone
thought you
so
said you were
overlooked.
used to it. You don't even notice it.
I got used to it, but I still wish it was better. You know, it still
Hmm.
was. I still have to like. You know, it's like anything. Muscle memory. You snap in the control issues. It's hard for a control issue to really screw me for a whole game, right? I'll get used to it. But when the texture pop in every single time I go to my attach case to heal, that bothers me. I honestly think if that texture pop in wasn't a thing for me, or the Xbox in general, because I've seen online some other people mentioning it. It's not a
Oh, like,
people aren't
I haven't
blowing up
even.
about it.
I just haven't heard of that at all. Like, I didn't know if like maybe your Xbox is just wonky. Like, because I know you've had other issues with your Xbox. Like, I haven't read anyone saying anything about that weird texture pop in stuff. Again, PS5 majority and whatnot, but yeah, I'm surprised that happens.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm not really used to console games having like this isn't a window. I'm not playing games on my Windows here. Like I would expect it to be pretty unanimous across. Like I'm used to video games on consoles playing absolutely the same across all consoles, unless your disc is scratched, which there's no disc in this case. So I
In
mean,
all different consoles are all the same.
no, like everyone who has this game on Xbox installed on their Xbox, I would assume it plays exactly the same.
Yeah, I would assume unless you have a faulty Xbox.
Yeah, but I mean, even it'd be really odd to have like a faulty system that couldn't do this one thing,
Yeah,
which
but
is load
it
textures.
just means like loading a memory cache slower or something than it should be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I got to uninstall the game and reinstall it or something. But that's just I don't know. I don't know if that's an Xbox thing or Microsoft or Capcom, but
Yeah.
it's annoying, and it's also I bet most people don't even notice it, or they just got used to playing with these small graphical flaws, or they're playing on a smaller TV and they're not noticing it. I really don't know what it is, but it's
Hmm.
quite something. And I have seen online other people complain about it, just like textures not loading properly. I think also the issue maybe with Xbox is that because it's sharper than the PS5 version, apparently, like it's actually a higher res the textures.
Hmm.
It might Your version might not even be loading those high res textures at all. So I might be seeing the PS5 quality texture and then like a moment later the next one. But it definitely annoying.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird. But still, I love the game. Don't get me wrong. And it's weird in the island. It seems to happen. It doesn't seem to happen. It seemed to happen a lot in the castle, especially in the caves, because there's just a lot of high res textures everywhere. But the
So,
island, it hasn't really happened very much. So it's been a better experience since I got to the island.
what are the things you like the most about the game?
What do I like the most?
Instead of just talking the negatives, let's talk about some of the positives you really like.
I just find the encounters with the enemies, it feels just as good as it did in the original, but modernized. It's hard to explain. Like, I don't mind the weightiness of the controls. I know some people are complaining about that.
Me too. I got used to it so fast. It feels really great.
I mean, I'm used to the tank controls of the original game, so it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, I just some of the scenes with fighting the enemies is just awesome. I really like
Hmm.
how they updated Ashley's segment.
What do you think of the new Salazar boss fight?
I thought that's the guy in the barn, right?
No.
That's the little what's his name?
Yeah,
Ramon.
Ramon Salazar.
That I thought it was really good actually, and much harder.
Yeah, I agree.
Because
I like the change.
you can get the one hit kill. I honestly, there's not much that I change wise I don't like. I mean, I even really like how the areas like the lake they kind of opened up for like a quasi exploration segment. I thought that was cool.
Hmm.
I like the added little challenges. You can buy things, or like you can shoot more of those blue medallions and the little challenges shooting rats. Like I love all that stuff.
Yeah.
No, I love the new Krauser fight. At least the first one with the knives. That
Oh
was
yeah, that
cool.
was cool.
And like just the characters and the cutscenes and yeah, I really like how they streamlined the village, even though they took a lot of segments out. Yeah, I guess I just like the feel of playing it. It's like as good as I remember the original being. And the thing, it's like classic Resident Evil 4, right? Like there's so much variety that by the time you would get bored, like in something like Dead Space where there's only so many enemies, in Resident Evil 4, like while you're tired of these enemies, and then you get a whole new set of them in the castle. Then you get these like bugs, and then you get the crazy guys on the island, and like there's the new cow head guy, and like it's just there's just so much enemy variety. I love it.
Yeah, you know what room I really loved is in the castle. The first time, like when you're trying to get the serpent head or whatever, and you walk down and the bridge goes down, and there's the guy in the red cloak,
Yeah, that was cool.
and he makes all their heads change. That's awesome.
Oh, I didn't notice that because I just took him out right away.
Oh yeah, so like if he does his thing, everyone around him, all their heads explode and become one of the Plagueis heads.
Cool.
Yeah.
I really like how like there's certain times where I'll get into a room and I'll be like, oh, this is the perfect chance to throw one of my grenades. And then I'll just like clear the room really quickly, and I'll just kind of know like, oh, that was awesome, but at the same time, like that could have gone a whole different way.
Yeah.
So much variety in how you play and creativity. And like I've been playing and I don't even have some of the items. Like I haven't really upgraded my knife. I never even bought the mine thrower. So I know there'll be alternative ways to play every segment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't beat it though. But yeah,
Yeah, me neither. I'm excited to finish it though.
yeah, and you know what's interesting? I saw a lot of people like they turned their aiming up, and I actually left it kind of like the default, like a slower aiming. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know why. I just something about like turning too quickly makes the graphics kind of blurry, and I like to like look at it like it's a little more cinematic, like a movie. So when I like turn the camera, I like it to be slow enough that I'm still taking in the environment. So I kept things kind of slow. The gun aiming is quicker, but I kept the other camera slower. The other thing I will just as a little side complaint, I find the quick turnaround doesn't always work sharply for me. If I'm like running, if I'm gonna like run away and then quickly turn around, I'll notice I'll like go into a duck first. So I've really had to train my brain to be like, no, you have to like come to a complete stop and then turn. You can't like be running and then turn around quickly and like with the quick turn. Do you play with gyro on PS5?
No, I don't really like gyro in general. So
Really? Wow.
yeah, I heard people didn't really like it on the PS5. They said it was really bad. But again, I'm not a gyro guy at all. I don't like it on Splatoon even.
Wow. So you don't have
Yeah.
it on, you didn't turn gyro on when you played Splatoon?
I think I did for a bit, but then I just got over it. I really don't. I don't like gyro.
Oh wow, so you actually play Splatoon with no gyro.
I'm not sure honestly. I know I played it with a bit. I just couldn't remember if I turned it off. Like I don't use it very much.
It's one of those things where if it's done right, it feels sublime. But I heard with PS5, a lot of games do it kind of weird. Like The Last of Us 2 kind of handled it weird, and I actually heard
I
Days
didn't.
Gone did a good job with it.
I didn't mind Horizon Forbidden West because it's like you aim the bow, but it lets you like do these like micro adjustments, which I really liked.
Yeah, I can't tell you how much playing Resident Evil 4 and Dead Space on Xbox, every time I aim the gun, I'm like, I really wish there was gyro. To me, it's so much more like involved. Like I'm like if something's attacking me right away and I'm like aiming with my actual gyro of the controller, I feel like I'm more intense. But yeah, I don't know. When you play Metroid Prime, I'd be curious to know if you try the dual analog with gyro, if you keep it on, because I thought that was really well done.
Okay, yeah, I probably won't, but I'll let you know.
So what's your score for Resident Evil 4 Remake right now?
I think right now it's probably like a 9.4,
Yep.
maybe a 9.3 kind of thing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. The one thing I do know playing this is that I don't think it usurps the original release. Funny enough,
I think it's too different to one be better than the other. Like I think for its time, the original crushes this game.
yeah,
But I think this game is it's a really good game. Like I think it's gonna be top 3 games of the year. Like I think it's gonna be an unbelievable game and be continued as I think it'll be fondly remembered for years and years to come.
totally.
The way Resident Evil 2 remake is fondly remembered.
And to be honest, I like Resident Evil 4 Remake a lot more than Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Oh, me too. Like 10 times over.
Yeah, to be honest, I really like the Resident Evil 2 remake, but I just do not like being stalked in a game. I just it bothers me so much. I feel like I feel really tense playing it in a way that
Yeah.
um I think with Resident Evil 4 there's like a coziness about it. Maybe because I'm just like it's like muscle memory and I just know the game. Like it never really frightens me to the point where I don't want to play it. Where
Hmm.
something like the Resident Evil 2 or Evil Within or even Dead Space, like there's a tension that almost makes me like kind of not enjoy it the same way with Resident Evil 4. It's like, oh, I'm right at home. It's like I'm watching an old action movie where I know every scene and every line. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. But yeah, I'd probably say the same around a 9.3 or 9.4. And you know what? I think to be honest, I will, by the end of the year, if they don't even patch this thing once, they don't patch these
Well,
controls and do something with it, I'm gonna ding it even harder because
they're
it's
putting mercenaries in what is it next
April.
Friday? Yeah,
Yeah.
next Friday, April 7th. Like I'm sure they're gonna have a patch with certain fixes then too.
And is it a free update?
The mercenaries is, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, I'm
But
so down
separate
for that.
separate ways, even it's likely to be coming. I'm betting that will cost money.
People are always were upset about separate ways, but to be honest, I never really cared for it much in the I guess it was in the PS2 and the Wii release and the other releases. It's really just a rehashing the levels with Ada. Um,
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I didn't really. I think I played it once on the Wii, but I think if they're gonna do it now, they're gonna make it very different. Like people are saying, some of the cut stuff from this game is gonna be hopefully in that game. In
oh, that'd
that,
be cool.
yeah.
Yeah, and there's parts of this game too where I'm playing it, and just it's just the art direction and it's like the high geometry of the level, and I'm just blown away by the art direction and the graphics. I gotta ask you this though, because I don't know if you are as attuned to noticing these things as I am, but do you ever notice that when you're going in between rooms that are like vastly different color schemes, that when you walk in, you'll very obviously notice the shifting in the color? Or are you not noticing
Mm,
that?
I do not notice that.
Okay, because there's a few times where I'm like, I backtrack to get some treasure or whatever, so I'm running through the doors, and I bet you this is on PS5 and people just don't notice it. But you'll like run through a door, like let's say it's the castle and it leads to like a kind of quasi outdoor area, and the outdoor area has like a warmer light, and the inside is a dimmer light. If you run through those sections, it's like the lighting very obviously fades to the next one, where it's like triggering a change. Where if you walk through it slowly and it doesn't, it's not noticeable. But if you're running through room for room for room, it's very noticeable.
Hmm.
And just another flaw. Uh,
No game's perfect, Peter.
no, you're right. And you know what? I harkens back to the original Resident Evil remake, where like every cutscene had like a 2 frame pause between every cut of a scene, and that's one of the greatest games ever too. So I guess I'm just hyper. I think to be honest, what it is coming off of Hi-Fi Rush, then Dead Space, then Metroid Prime remastered. I just had a higher expectation of polish, and
Polish. Yeah.
I think Resident Evil 4 is prepping me for the lack of polish that Breath of the Wild 2 will have, or sorry, Tears of the Kingdom, with the pop in and jaggy shadows and drops
Hmm.
to 25 frames a second. So I got to kind of retrain my brain from these crazy 4K 60 frame perfect games. That's just not what games is, and especially for Starfield coming later this year, I got to get ready for these graphical
The
problems.
the Uber jank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's important to, and I think this. It's important to realize that just because games aren't fully polished doesn't mean that the game or the gameplay is less than those other games. You know what I mean? It can still be a better game or have better gameplay with less polish.
Absolutely, yeah. And Resident Evil 5, or sorry, 4, the just the encounter design and action design is just sublime.
Hmm.
Just quickly, Derek, before we finish off here, where do you see and what do you want the next Resident Evil remake to be? I mean, they'll probably do Resident Evil 9 at some point. We know that'll come, but what do you want next for Resident Evil remakes?
So part of me wants, a lot of people talking about Code Veronica. I've never played Code Veronica, so I'd like to have it as part of my collection. But honestly, I'd love for them to redo Resident Evil 5.
Really? Okay.
What about you?
I feel like Resident Evil Zero is one that I'd be interested in.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually, that'd be a good one.
It could use a refresh. It had a really cool setting on the train and then the Spencer Mansion. And if they allowed for co-op in Resident Evil Zero, it could be really cool too.
Oh, that would be cool. I'd also be down if they did something kind of interesting where it was like Resident Evil. This is gonna sound like a stupid name, like Resident Evil. I don't know, 3.5 or 3-2.
Oh, you
where
want
it's
them to
like
redo three? Yeah, I've seen people claim
no,
for that.
not redo those, not redo three, but I mean like make a game that falls in between 3 and 4 or 4 and 5 or like you know what I mean. Like I don't necessarily want to jump to 5, but I also don't want to continue from after 8. Like I would love if they jump back to like right after 1 or what happened after 3 after Raccoon City, but before Leon comes to the Las Plagas city. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some stories in there that I think might be interesting.
I
don't
really
know.
think it's going to be either 5, Code Veronica, or 0.
Zero's a wild one. I haven't heard 0. I think it'll be 9 and 5.
The thing with 5 that I wonder about, though, is that 5 already looks pretty good. I mean, it was made on the HD generation, and they've had it hasn't been remastered, so to speak, but it runs pretty well on PS4 and Xbox One. I don't know if the upgrade will be as pronounced. And also the other factor is, that game has a little bit of a problem with, being a white guy killing primarily black people who are in tribes. Like it's borderline racist, right? So I don't know if that's gonna fly.
Even 4 is racist too. You're killing Spaniards.
Yeah, but there's something about the visual of Chris Redfield capping down tribally, like black tribes in tribal costumes. And like it's a little bit different than Spanish town of people who are infected. It just, and I think that I think given the current climate, especially, it would be it'd be especially distasteful to. I don't know. And honestly, Resident Evil 5 is probably one of my least favorite ones. I did enjoy playing it, but the story is so stupid, and it just gets so ridiculous by the end. It doesn't have the tension that any of the other ones do. And I think it'd be nice to go back to Code Veronica or Zero and bring back a little bit of that Resident Evil 2 tension.
And so what I saw some people suggest, which I thought would be cool, I don't think it'll ever happen, is people are saying they should remake 5, but make it a completely different game and have the remake timeline be different than the original game's timeline. So it's like a split timeline.
That's a great idea. Because 5 and 6 can be totally left in the trash, in my opinion.
Exactly. So you can make a new Resident Evil 5 and a Resident Evil 6. Because 7 and 8 are so disjointed, it kind of into their own realm anyways,
yep.
that you can make 5 and 6 completely different games and just carry on a different timeline.
You know what else I've seen people suggest what I would be down for too is a straight up remake of Resident Evil 1. Like another remake, but do it in this Resident Evil 4 style.
That'd be cool, yeah.
Because that's a great game. That's a really great game, and it's actually like the scariest one. But if there's a way they could do that with like really limited ammo and really and make it a true horror game, that could be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, bright future for Resident Evil. That's for sure. It's definitely come a long way since the days of Resident Evil Revelations and Resident Evil 6. There was a point there where I'm like, this series going to the dumps. It's going to the Capcom dumps.
Yeah, Revelations 1 and 2, and even I like Resident Evil Mercenaries. That again, I don't think did very well.
On 3DS.
Yeah.
I still have the one that has the misspelled.
Me too. Yeah. That's isn't that Revelatons though?
You're right, actually. Yeah, sorry, I have that too though.
But yeah, I know Mercenaries is coming from Resident Evil 4. I would be down if they used the same engine as Resident Evil 4 and 3 and 2 and made a full-blown Mercenaries game with good online co-op and like 20 characters, 15 levels. Like I would play the hell out of that.
With online.
Yeah, exactly. Like Resident Evil 5 Mercenaries is amazing because it had that co-op. It had 12 levels or something and like 16 characters, and it was just awesome. Like I feel like there's something there, but the one time they tried it, they put it on the 3DS and only the 3DS.
Yeah, it was a discount release, but yeah, I wonder if I don't think they will, but it'd be cool if Resident Evil 4 Mercenaries had multiplayer. It won't.
It won't, but hopefully Resident Evil 5 will.
Yeah. All right, Derek, any last feelings about Resident Evil or thoughts?
Nope. I'm excited to finish the game. Love it a lot.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Derek, well, this has been a nice Nintendo Bros chat.
Yeah, it's been a good, quick summary of two big things.
Yeah, totally. Okay, Derek, well, have yourself a good night. This is Nintendo Bros Pete signing out.
This is Derek. See you later.